I'll start with my prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manogishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Dadati Swapadantika Vanchikalpatarubhyasya Kripasindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhari Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th chapter and 22nd verse. And these are the actually prayers of when it is departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. And these are the prayers by the ladies who are watching from the roof and offering, talking about Krishna. So verse 22nd, Sa eva bhuyo nijvira choditam swajiva mayam prakritim sisrakshitim Anam-rupatmani rupanamani vidhit samano anusasar shastrakrit. Word by word translation. Saha he eva thus bhuya again nija own personal virya potency choditam performance of swa own jiva living being mayam external energy prakritim onto material nature sisrakshitam while recreating anama without mundane designation rupa atmani forms of the soul rupa namani forms and names vidhist manaha desiring to award anu Sasara, interested, Shastrakrit, the compiler of revealed scripture. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's a big purport. The living entities are parts and parcel of the Lord. They are of two varieties, namely Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha. The Nitya Muktas are eternally liberated soul, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode, beyond the manifested mundane creations. But the Nitya Baddha or eternally conditioned souls are entrusted to his external energy, Maya, for rectification of their rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father. Nitya-baddhas are eternally forgetful of their relation with the Lord as parts and parcels. They are bewildered by the illusory energy as products of matter, and thus they are very busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. Then they go on merrily with plans, but by the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and the plans are annihilated at the end of a creation period, as above mentioned. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita as follows: O son of Kunti, at the end of millennium, all the living entities merge into my nature, and again, when the time of creation is ripe, I begin creation by the agency of my external energy. The word bhuya indicates again and again, that is to say, the process of creation, maintenance, and alleviation is going on perpetually by the external energy of the Lord. He is the cause of everything, but the living beings who are constitutionally the parts and parcel of the Lord are the parts and parcels of the Lord and are forgetful of the sweet relation, are given a chance again to get rid of the clutches of the external energy and to revive the living being's consciousness. The revealed scriptures are also created by the Lord. Vedic literatures are the guidance and directions for the conditioned souls so they can get free from the repetition of creation and annihilation of the material world and the material body. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, this creation, this created world and material energy are under my control, under the influence of Prakriti. Automatically, they are created again and again. And this is done by me through the agency of my external energy. Actually, the spiritual spark, living entities have no material names or forms, but in order to fulfill their desire to lord it over the material nature, lord it over the material energy of material forms and names, they are given a chance for such false enjoyment. At the same time, they are given a chance to understand the real position through the revealed scriptures. The foolish and forgetful living being is always busy with false forms and false names. Modern nationalism is a culmination of such false names and false forms. Men are mad after false name and form. The form of body obtained under certain conditions is taken up as factual, and the name also taken bewilders the conditioned soul into misusing the energy in the name of so many isms. The scriptures, however, supply the clue for understanding the real position, but men are reluctant to take lessons from the scriptures created by the Lord for different places and times. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is the guiding principle for all human beings, but by the spell of material energy, they do not take care to carry out the programs of life in terms of the Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is the postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, people have no taste for them, and therefore they are under the clutches of Maya for repetition of birth and death. So, Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So the purport is huge, big actually. So let's dive into the purport of Srila Prabhupada. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada is basically discussing something that I always had question about. I had question about it for so long, and I would ask everyone, whoever is giving lecture in the temple or any visiting sannyasi, I will ask everyone. So let's go one by one. So in the translation, Srila Prabhupada, the first part of the translation is the personality of Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels. So parts and parcels, Srila Prabhupada is in first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is describing about the parts and parcels. So there are two types of parts and parcels. He's saying the first ones are, the two are the Nitya Mukta and Nitya Baddha. So first one, he's describing what is Nitya Mukta. So who they are. So Srila Prabhupada is saying Nitya Muktas are eternally liberated souls. So the first question comes, okay, what do they do then? So Srila Prabhupada is answering, what are they doing? What are their activities? Srila Prabhupada is saying they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service. I really like the way Srila Prabhupada said that over here, engaged in reciprocation of transcendental loving service. Reciprocation means love is a two-way street. So it's not that only one person is loving, but here it is reciprocation, right? So Krishna is loving and the devotees are reciprocating. So they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with whom? So Srila Prabhupada says, with the Lord. And where are they engaged? So Srila Prabhupada answers this question that there is a place they are engaged in his eternal abode. And where is it like situated? It is situated beyond the manifested mundane creations. It is situated beyond the creation. Now the problem comes, the Nityabadhas. So Srila Prabhupada is describing the Nityabadha, what are the eternally conditioned souls, and what is their position. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Nityabadhas, eternally conditioned souls, are entrusted to his material energy, Maya. And why are they entrusted to Maya? That used to be my question. For rectification of what? Like I used to think I'm good, like, I have lived a good life, I don't do any bad activities, I don't hurt anyone, and living a pious life, and rectification of what? What is wrong? That is the question that Srila Prabhupada answers. Rectification of their rebellious attitude. Rebellious attitude, like, I don't have rebellious attitude. I'm very submissive and good, and I do my work properly, taking care of things. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, no, rebellious attitude not towards that. He's saying rebellious attitude towards a Supreme Father. Here Srila Prabhupada, he used the word Supreme Father instead of saying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so what happens when we are interested to the external energy? What is our situation? What do we do? Like, the Nityabadhas are eternally engaged in serving the Supreme Lord. And what are we doing when we are interested to the material energy? So he's saying, what happens, like Nitya Muktas, they remember the relationship with Krishna. They are always engaged in service towards Krishna. But Nityabadhas, they are eternally forgetful of their relation with the Lord. That's what Srila Prabhupada is saying. So if we forget our relationship with the Lord, then who do we identify with, right? Then Srila Prabhupada answers this question. When we become forgetful of the Lord, so what happens? We identify ourselves with the products of matter. And how do we exactly identify ourselves with the product of matter, and why? We're saying because we are bewildered by illusory energy. We will come to that later, how illusory energy binds us. But here what Srila Prabhupada is saying, what is our situation? So our situation is, we become forgetful of our relationship with Krishna, and we are so then we identify ourselves with this body, right? So now like Krishna is Satchit and Ananda, right? And we are also Satchit and Ananda eternally, like we are also seeking for bliss. So when we identify ourselves with the body, we are looking for happiness, we are looking for bliss. Then where do we get the happiness from? Of course, we'll get the happiness when we try to make plans to make ourselves happy over here, make ourselves happy in this body, right? So what are we doing? The eternally liberated souls are deriving perpetual happiness in serving the Supreme Lord. And what are we doing here? We are trying to we are making plans, because when we want to be happy, we make plans, like I will do this, then my situation will be much better, and then when my situation is much better, then I will be happy, right? So we are making our plans to be happy. Now after this, Srila Prabhupada makes a very strong statement. Actually, he's saying that they are bewildered by the illusory energy as products of matter, and thus they are busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. But what happens to our plans? Like, what is the result of our plans? He's saying they go on merrily with the plans. By the will of the Lord, both the plan makers and the plans are annihilated at the end of creation. So the plan maker and the plan, both are annihilated. Srila Prabhupada used to give one example. I do not remember that person was his friend or acquaintance, that or the doctor was friend or acquaintance, but he would give the example that there was a once he saw it in front, he saw it himself. There was one very rich businessman, and he was diagnosed with a deadly disease, I think cancer. So he goes to the doctor and he says to the doctor, I have so much money, I will give you whatever money you need, but I have made plans like at least for 4 years that I need to do this. So if you can please increase the timeline of my life so that I can fulfill my plans, that would be great. But what can doctor do? Doctor's hands are also bound. When the ultimate notice comes, then we have to leave. So that is what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that um, mm, at the end of either creation or at the end of our this life, uh, all the plan maker and plan both are destroyed. And then Srila Prabhupada is explaining, is it happening only for the one time? Okay, the life is, the material world is created and it is annihilated. That's it. It's done. End of the story. No, it is happening. He's explaining the word bhuyo. Bhuyo means again. So it is happening again and again, again and again. The creation and annihilation, creation and annihilation. So and he's now let's jump on to the last part. But before we jump on to the last paragraph of the purport, there is one more thing I want to mention, is in the translation also and in the purport also, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that it is being done by external energy. So is external energy doing it on its own? So that is what Srila Prabhupada answers this question, that everything, Krishna is the cause of everything, and everything is happening because of his omnipotency, and he's the one who empowers the living entity. Now we will go to the last part of the purport, and it's like till now it's very what should I say? Like, okay, we are eternally going into this cycle, right? Is there any hope? So in the last part, Srila Prabhupada is explaining is in detail, like it is mentioned a little bit in the first purport, what is the purpose of the creation. And again, he's mentioning the purpose of the creation. So he's saying that the living entities, right? Like in the translation, the ladies are saying, desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcel. So Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport, um, the soul, it does not have any material name, or it does not have any material form. But so why it is done? Like, we don't have any material name, material form. So now Srila Prabhupada is again saying the same thing what he said earlier, and he's saying it in two steps. So there are two reasons, two purposes of the creation. First one is because the living entity, we want to have material forms or material names, and we want to be the false enjoyer. Srila Prabhupada uses the word false enjoyer, right? That means we think we are enjoying, but in actuality we are not enjoying. So false enjoyer. So first reason is because we want to enjoy falsely, and I will try to give the same example I gave earlier, like beating the example to the death kind of. So the child is crying, and mother is cooking, and the child also wants to cook, uh, and I want to cook too, I want to cook. So mother says that okay, she mother gives another set of paraphernalia, which looks exactly like the real one, but it is not real. So mother says, okay, go ahead, don't cry, you start cooking over there, right? So why mother has given that paraphernalia? Because the child wanted to do the same thing what mother is doing, right? So like we also want to be the enjoyer, and so we also want to be like Krishna. So we are given a world where we can be small Krishna, right? Like a game. So it's like, when we were children, we used to play ghar ghar. So what we would do, one will become husband, one will become wife, and two other friends will become kids. And so same thing we are doing here, we are playing ghar ghar. Someone becomes husband, someone becomes wife, someone become some living entity becomes the kids, right? So it is the false enjoyment. Why it is false? So it's like, the kids are playing outside, and they play, then they get tired, and they need food, they are hungry. So they go to their mom, please, we are hungry, right? So similarly here, we are playing ghar ghar, we can say, in the similar way. And then we also become hungry. Now what are we become hungry of? I'm eating food, but what we are becoming hungry of, the love. When we don't see the love here, and we don't find any peace, then we try to go look for a place where we can find love, and where we can find peace, and then we try to go back to Krishna and try to revive our relationship. So that is what this false enjoyment. So that is why we were discussing the purpose of the creation. So it's like the first one is so that the living entity desiring to falsely enjoy the material world. So Krishna gives us the place. Okay, go ahead, enjoy, don't cry. And then the second purpose is, it's like, I'll give another example. Let's say someone's kid falls into bad company, and start taking drugs. So and gets used to of taking it, right? So if you think, okay, the kid has become, do the parents abandon the kid? Okay, you go, you get out of here. And it's very dark if parents do that, right? So there should be an option. There should be option that the kid can be corrected, and the kid can be corrected in the sense that uh, maybe try to taken out of the habit of taking drugs and become normal again and start living. So um, the another example, uh, let's not go to the other example, this one here, stay to this one. So similarly, this material world, right, it is created so that to rectify what Srila Prabhupada said in the first part of the purport, to rectify our rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father. So when we get when we are young, we grow up, then we want to get married. Why do we want to get married? Because we want to love someone and have kids. Like again, we want to have kids because we want to have a loving family. We love kids, kids love us, right? So that is the reason we get into this family, right? So similarly, there is a loving relationship between the Supreme Lord and living entities, us, right? But there is one thing with love. Uh, with love comes only with choice. Love cannot be forced. So it's like, like in the movies, sometimes they say the villain comes and puts the gun on the ear of the heroine and say you love me. So the heroine will say, okay, 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 I love you. But then the hero say, nahi, dil se bolo, say it from your heart that you love me. So it's like, it's force, it's fear. The person is putting the fear in the other person's mind to say, you love me, right? So that is not love, that is fear. And the other thing could be the helplessness, that okay, let's say someone is someone is trapped, not caught, trapped in island. Okay, and on the island there is no one else, just one boy and one girl. So the boy, the girl doesn't like the boy, but boy says, will you marry me? Now the girl is thinking, okay, I cannot love a gorilla or anyone, right? I have no choice. So she'll say, okay, that's fine. So that is like the girl's helplessness. She does not have any choice. She's making that decision, right? Love is not that. Love is when we have choice. Now with the choice also, there is a two things, right? One is we may make the right choice, and second, we may make the wrong choice. The right choice, okay, I love Krishna, I stay with Krishna. The wrong choice, I leave Krishna, I want to get out of here and I want to enjoy on my own. That is the wrong choice. So when we make the wrong choice, so just like the kid who started taking drugs, if there is no reformation, right, then it's very dark. Means how can we leave someone? So if there is no way that we can reform our wrong choice, then it becomes very dark, right? So the second purpose of the creation is to rectify our choice. And so like in our example with the kids playing ghar ghar, when they realize that they're hungry, so when we are playing ghar ghar, we realize that we are not happy, there is no love, there is no peace, we go to Krishna. So Krishna says, no, why are you crying? You have your house, you have your car, you have your kids and everything. So then we may say, no, we have everything, but we don't have love. So that is the another purpose of sorry, not another two, one of the, yes, another purpose. The two purposes, one is to satisfy our desire for the false enjoyment, and second is to rectify our desire so that we can realize our real nature. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport that is done by the revealed scriptures. So like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the devotees, Krishna gives us devotees, the scriptures, so that we can realize our real position. So what happens, like here in the in the purport in the translation, let Srila Prabhupada is saying that when we become rebellious, okay, we became rebellious. I don't want to live here with Krishna. I want to have my own world of enjoyment. So what does Krishna do? He entrusts us to the material energy. So again, I will give the example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada used to give example that when he was small, he was very naughty, and he wouldn't go to school. Instead of going to school, he would play with his friends. So his mom hired a person, his name was Damodar. He would like tie the hands and he would take him to the school. So if we are obedient, then like we stay with mother, takes care. But if we become disobedient, then we are given under the control of someone else. Because why? The reason is because we cannot be independent. Like a small child cannot be left independent. The child has to be under the shelter of mother or someone else who can take care of the child. So that is why we are interested to the material energy, because that is what we have chosen. So what happens when material energy takes charge of us? When material energy takes charge of us, she does two things. First, she covers us. Sorry. First, she throws us into the material world. And second, she covers us. Covers what? Covers that, covers our identity, that we completely forget who we are, that we are part and parcel of Krishna. And we identify ourselves with the body. Srila Gurudev, once in the lecture, he was giving this example that one of his friends, he took Srila Gurudev to meet his father, who was in the psychiatric ward. So his friend, he introduced Srila Gurudev to his father, said, okay, this is Anandini Swami, he's my friend. And then he said, okay, he's my father. So the father said, no, I'm not your father, I'm Napoleon. And then he starts crying. saying, I lost, but I lost Waterloo. And there was another lady who was sitting by him. She said, I'm Josephine. So when we see these kind of things in the movie, we laugh, right? But if we are laughing at ourselves, because that is our situation. uh, it's like we have completely forgotten our real identity, and we are identifying ourselves with this body, which is like bag of water, bones, and muscles, and um, so many things. So, and we identify ourselves with that. So that is our situation. And that we that is what material energy does. It covers us so that we forget completely, like the friend's father in the psychiatric ward. He forgot who he is, and he's identifying himself with the Napoleon, which he is not. So that is the first part. And sorry, that is the second part. First part, the material energy throws us into the material world. So and then when we meet the devotees, and we think that, yes, I want to revive my relationship with Krishna, I want to go back. It's not that easy either. So when we say that material energy, Srila Prabhupada used to say in his lectures that when we take initiation, or when we take shelter of Krishna, it's like declaring war against material energy. So war is a very strong thing. Generally, countries, they go for war unless it's really serious. It cannot be taken care of any other way. And I used to think, like, why it is like declaring a war against material energy, because after all, we are trying to go back to Krishna. And who is material energy? Material energy is Durga Devi. She is devotee of Krishna. So shouldn't she facilitate our going back to Krishna? Actually, if we look at it, she's facilitating. And but before we think about it, we need to understand what this material energy is. Material energy is very strong. And declaring war against material energy. There is a book on art of war, I think, by Sufu, something like that. I don't remember. So in his strategies, he's saying that when we know enemy and we know ourselves, no worries, the war is already won. But when we know that the enemy is a little stronger than us, then we need to think of the strategy, that how will we go and come up with the plans. But if the enemy is unsurmountable, no match, then run. So the Maya, she's like no match for us, unsurmountable, right? Unfathomable. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Daivi hi aisha gunamai mam maya duratyaya. It's very difficult to overcome, right? So that is Maya. And what is Maya's job? We know all. She is holding that trident in her hand, Adi Davik, Adi Bhautik, Adhyatmik, those troubles. So it seems like, punishment, but it is more of rectification. So it's not like punishment, because punishment brings rectification. So let's say, like, let's say, for example, I'm using this laptop to connect to the Zoom call, and suddenly my laptop crashes, and uh, I I asked my boys to help me to bring the laptop, and they're trying and they're trying and they're trying, and I cannot bring my laptop up. They say, Mama, you can use my phone. No, I want to use this laptop only to connect to the Zoom, fix it. And then they are fixing it. And okay, I try to fix it for till 8 o'clock in the morning, and then the time is up, class is over. And then my kids are still working. Next day, next week also, but I'm still working on this laptop. Means we are so obstinate. This is the job of Maya. We are so obstinate, we are frustrated in our attempts to make ourselves happy over here, but we never give up. Means if someone comes after 1 week, I'm still working on my laptop, they say, hello, time to change your laptop, buy another laptop. If one thing is not working, take another thing, right? So that is the job of Maya, is to bring us to our senses that you cannot be happy over here, and come to your senses, look for another alternative. Then why is it like war? I'm taking shelter of Krishna now. So why are you declaring a war now? Like, I understood, all right, means I cannot be happy over here. So please help me. So the reason it's war is because she wants to make sure that we really want to serve Krishna. Like if we go to the spiritual world, like if I go to spiritual world, let's say in wildest dream, in the current state of my mind, in my current stage, what will I do? I will create disturbance over there, first of all. And secondly, I cannot be happy over there. It's like if someone is forced against his will, it still holds the same opinion. So if I want to enjoy separately from Krishna, how can I be happy when I go back? And I will cause disturbance over there also. All devotees are serving Krishna, and now I'm asking attention. No, don't give attention to Krishna, give attention to me. It's like causing disturbance. So that is what Maya is doing, is she's making sure that we are resolute in our purpose, and we have really given up all the material desires, and we are ready to go. And so now we were talking about the war and Maya, enemy, unsurmountable enemy, Devi, Hiesha, Gunamayi, Mammaya, Duratyaya. So if Maya is so strong, do we even have any hope? And one of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada, was saying that you have one problem. Your problem is you are not scared of Maya. You take Maya very lightly. So that is why we need to understand that Maya is unsurmountable. So what do we do? Again, I will give another example of Srila Prabhupada. Once he was walking on the beach with his disciples, and there were some crabs on the sand. So the moment the crabs saw them coming towards them, they immediately jumped into the water. So Srila Prabhupada asked his disciples, do you know why crabs jump into the water? So one of his disciples was a scientist, and he said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, when we are walking on the sand, there are some waves, those are getting generated, and those waves are going through the sand, through the particles, to the crabs, and then the crabs, receptions, they are capturing. Srila Prabhupada said, no, the reason they're jumping into the ocean is because they see us coming. We are big. For them, they're scared. But ocean is unsurmountable. They take shelter of the ocean. So similarly, for us, those difficulties are very big. But we take shelter of Krishna because Krishna is the supreme. So that is how in the second part of the verse, Devi Hiesha Gunamayi Mammaya Duratya, Krishna gives the answer. Then how can we get over that unsurmountable Maya? Mameva ye prapadyante Mayamitam tarantite. Once we take shelter of Krishna, we get out of it. So the reason I said that is, once we start our path on the spiritual journey, it's not easy. It's like easier said than done. Yes, when difficulties come, take shelter of Krishna. but it's not that easy. Sometimes difficulties are it's like, we think, okay, I have taken the path of devotion, now it will be all happiness, the path will be full of roses. But it's other way around. The path is full of thorns. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, that the path towards Vrindavan is full of thorns. So it's not easy when the difficulties come. And even if we, what happens, like when we take shelter of Krishna in the difficult times, when we take shelter of Krishna, then what happens, like all those three energies, internal energy, external energy, marginal energy, right? Those energies are, Krishna is omnipotent, and Krishna can use any energy for anything. Just like a expert electrician can use the heating to cooling, cooling to heating, right? So similarly, what is happening when we are in difficulty, although from outside the external energy is working, right? But when we take shelter of Krishna, then by Krishna's grace, by Krishna's mercy, that external energy works as internal energy for the devotee. And it those difficulties, instead of binding us to the material world, those difficulties, they take us closer to Krishna. But as I said, let's say I'm in difficulty right now and I take shelter of Krishna, not necessary that my problem will be resolved immediately, or I will get solution today, in 1 hour, today, tomorrow. Sometimes it may take months, sometimes it may take years to get to understand what is going on and to see Krishna's mercy coming through us. So we all have our own set of problems. I have my set of problems. I have my share of tears. I have my share of hurts. I have my share of ouchies, right? But with each difficulty, which is very difficult, like fire of ordeal, right? But with each difficulty, one small chip is off, and we move towards the right path. So it is better to go slow and steady in the right direction rather than running like crazy in the wrong direction. Like when sometimes we see in cartoons, someone like Tom and Jerry. So I think Tom is the cat, right? So cat is running crazily, right? Not knowing that there is a valley coming in front of, like cat is running on the cliff, not knowing that there is a valley, she'll drop. So similarly, it is slow and steady wins the race, right? So the point is that this is the purpose of the creation, that to try to falsely enjoy that we have natural tendency for right now because we are accustomed to it. And the second purpose is to come to our senses and start on the spiritual path and understand our real relationship with Krishna. So if we think like, I was thinking, if we think of the difficulties, so in difficulty, we should try to change our tendency, instead of enjoyer, to be a servant. Because the difficulty is basically, what is a difficulty? Some particular sense enjoyment is taken away from us, right? I wanted to enjoy that happened, someone hurt me or disrespected me or whatever, right? So we are trying to be the enjoyer, and it is very difficult at that time. But somehow if we pray to Krishna, then slowly, in difficulties, our enjoying tendencies, by Krishna's will, Krishna's grace, it will turn into serving nature towards Krishna. So the karmis are, in every situation they are trying to enjoy, and the aspiring devotees like us, we are trying to rectify in every difficult situation or every situation, we are trying to rectify our tendency to enjoy. From that tendency, we are trying to rectify it to uh, serve it to Krishna. So that is all I wanted to say. So I will open up for any discussions, because in this purport, Srila Prabhupada has said many things that, at least I had a lot of misunderstandings towards that, I would say. So I will just stop here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the very nice explanation and breakdown of the purports. I really like the analogies you gave. It really kind of makes it easy to understand, like this ghar ghar analogy you gave, playing house, and the kids, who's on drug addict, how parents don't want to abandon. So similarly, even though we are rebellious, Krishna is giving always protection and rectification program for us to go back. This one thing that I oftentimes struggle with, and I want to see, you covered it actually in your explanation, but I want to maybe just hear more. So, when I hear in the purport that everything is going on by the will of the Lord, and the modes or material energy is bewildering us, it makes me feel that everything is going on automatically, right? Like I don't have a choice. Even though we know that we have a free will, this, this will of the Lord and the energy seems to be like so much stronger than my free will, I feel. The forces are much stronger, and like you said, it's very difficult to overcome. So how to understand, or how to calm my mind to say no, my free will is there, and it can't, it can be stronger if I truly desire to rectify myself, my rebellious nature.
Yes, Mataji. For that, even I used to have the same question, because as you said that although sometimes Arjuna asks Krishna, right? Sometimes we know that those things are not right, but still we are doing it as if we are compelled by something, right? So it's like, where is the free will then? Where is the choice? Like we are compelled, means I don't want to do it, but still I'm doing it because as if I'm forced. So it's a cycle, Mataji, in the sense that we develop our tendencies based on the activities we do. So it's like, let's say a person has a very small tendency to steal. Okay, then what he does, when in the beginning it is small, but that kid it is small, but when the kid grows up, the tendency becomes stronger then to steal. So the kid goes and they steals, right? So it has twofold reactions. One reaction is that the kid will be thrown into the jail or rectification, right? Because for kid there is no jail, but they go to that rectification house, I think. And second reaction is that his tendency to steal is increasing, right? It is becoming stronger. So the this is basically the cycle of the karma. And we have so many tendencies from our previous lifetimes. It comes one after another. So is there really a way to be out of it? it seems like it's all happening like as if we are compelled to do. And okay, I have tendency, I do it, and then I get a reaction, my tendency gets stronger, and I do it is stronger, and I do it is stronger. We are getting bound and bound and bound. Oh, I hope I'm using the right charger. So yeah, so we get more and more bound. Is there any hope? The hope is we can, like, this is a cycle going on. The way to get out of that cycle is the association of the devotees. And so what happens, Mataji, is that when we surrender, when we start our bhakti process, right, we still have our tendencies. Those tendencies are still there. It's not like I just started chanting, right? Like, let's say I started chanting, I'm chanting for 1 month. So it doesn't mean that immediately I will be out of my tendencies. So what happens when we are chanting, we are getting purified, although it is little, we don't see it, right? But what happens when we serve Guru and Krishna, after some time, those tendencies that we have, like right now, it's like, here is my tendency.
We lost Mataji.
Yeah. Oh, there she is.
Sorry, Mataji, my laptop. It's good I changed the phone immediately. I didn't try to fix it. So, but what I was saying is that right now, Mataji, it is like this. This is our tendency, and our reaction is right there, right? But as our surrender towards Guru and Krishna increases, this gap increases. Okay, so here is our tendency, and then this gap is basically time to think, time to respond. We get time to think. We get that time, we get a choice to make. Okay, should I do that? If I do that or not? So that way, that increases. But so that way we do, our choice, it becomes stronger when our when we are on this path and our surrender to Guru and Krishna is increasing, we are doing it. But also, Mataji, there is one more thing, and that is like the practical steps that we take. And it's like, slowly we, and it's like training our mind with mindfulness. So uh, like slowly, if we start seeing our reactions, that okay, if this thing happens, right, then I get immediately angry about it. And then what happens when I get immediately angry? Then after some time, I feel very bad. Why did I get angry? Right? So we have this graph going up, down. So when we start understanding ourselves by accepting our feelings, how we are feeling. So what happens when the anger is coming, Mataji? We realize it at that time. Okay, anger is coming. So we can take precautionary measures at that time. So we do have a choice, Mataji. So it's like two ways I was giving. One is the spiritual, how it increases, and also it is training the mind and being mindful of trying to be mindful of our own feelings, our own reactions without judging. Then we can see it is coming, and then we can catch it on time, and we get the that that span to think before we respond. Does it answer, Mataji?
Yeah, that's very nice connection, that our tendencies and the reaction time we right now is really short, but it, with the knowledge, it expands, and then we do in that moment have a choice to either take shelter of Krishna or shelter of our mind. Yeah. Thank you. Very nice.
Thank you
Helpful.
so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam, Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, in the same lines, and first of all, like Govind Mohan Mataji said, very beautifully present. The examples you gave are very eloquent, and also the way you explain the purport, it's amazing. And I think it's a great reminder about the basics of Krishna consciousness, and which is fundamental also, right? So I also have one fundamental question. I always try to contemplate, but I haven't had 100% clarity. I'm hoping you can share your thought on that.
Sure.
So you brought up the nice concept of free will and love, right? Meaning love is there only when there is free will. I always thought, we have that free will. Once I asked His Holiness Rompal Swami about free will, and then he immediately corrected me. That stuck with me for a long time. Actually, there is no free will here. The little freedom that we experience is the example that the acharyas give is the length of the rope to which the cow is tied to. That is the only amount of free will we have. It's actually, if you take a deeper look, there's no free will. Then when we look at from that example of the length of the rope and whatnot, in one sense, is Krishna forcing us? Because he's saying, you'll be happy if you love me, but if you don't love me, you'll have to deal with Maya and you'll have to deal with difficulties. So then, is there free will there, or is it love again?
Yes, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, what is the question or comment? I mean, question in that?
The question is, I feel that, in one angle, if you look at it, looks like Krishna is forcing us. He's saying, if you don't love, you'll be thrown into Maya. So that's kind of, you gave the example of a heroine, right? So in one sense, it also feels like a force, right?
Yes, Prabhu. It one sense. Actually, I used to have the same question some time back, and I was attending Sachinandan Swami Maharaj's retreat, Holy Name retreat. I think not last year. I think last to last year, and I was saying the same thing. Like it seems like a force, right? So it's like, okay, if you don't come to me, then you deal with Maya, right? So he said, no, it's not like that. You see that Krishna has given, it's not that he's always, there are always difficulties. Krishna has given us things, right? But if you remember our happy times also, if we don't talk about the difficulties, happy times also, then also, like if I remember my previous times, I don't remember like being happy in the heart, in the sense that happiness was very external, kind of, or what it does, it brings like that external happiness that we get from Maya. It brings us pride and other things, because if there is happiness, then but again it is going to the same thing what you're saying, right? That if we get happy, yeah, so we get little pride, or we get attached to the happiness, and then we become insensitive to other people's sorrows. So uh, then there is another thing Satyananda Swami Maharaj said. He said, when you advance, then you will know that it is not forced. So I took it as a blessing from him. That means I will advance in future. But although Prabhu, I would just say, but other devotees can pitch in. to that. What my understanding is, Prabhu, that in this process, my personal journey, in this process of bhakti, lot of things are taken away or given up, right? That people most of the times desire for or thrive for it, right? But I chose to give up those things because there was a choice that was either this or that. So I chose to have this bhakti. And I used to contemplate a lot on that. Why did I do that? Because I won't say that I am like, I'm feeling always very happy, right? But some thought came to my mind and I forgot also. Yes, but there is something in it that I weighed those two things and I chose this path. That means there is some satisfaction I'm getting over here in my heart. Like, if someone asked me, stop chanting, like, I would leave that person rather than, stop chanting. So, yeah, so it's like, I will just give one example, Prabhu, that if you remember, Prabhu, once we were in the temple, Naperville temple, and we were all discussing, and I was like not in my best of conditions at the time, and everyone was glorifying Krishna. Krishna is so great, and the planets are moving because of his will. He's doing everything, and this and that. And then in response to that, what I said, no devotee would like to hear. I said, but he does nothing. So the devotees were saying, he's doing everything. I said, yeah, he's doing everything, but he does nothing also at the same time. Like I was saying in my relation that the situation I was going in, I was thinking he's not doing anything. But I did not, like I mentioned while I was speaking, that sometimes it takes years when we take shelter of Krishna. Sometimes it takes years to see the results. The results are not immediate. So it's not he's not doing anything. He was removing the inauspicious things from my path of bhakti, but I was so attached to those things that my thing was that, okay, I want to have that also, and then I want to have this also. But Krishna has different plan. Like, for example, sometimes we think Krishna is like that, the intelligence is mine, but Krishna is like someone like a powerful, heavy, powerful person. I have made this decision that I wanted, this is best for me because my intelligence is better than Krishna. And I ask Krishna to be the, like, please do what I'm saying because you are all powerful. But Krishna has his own plan and it was working, but I was not able to see it at that time, right? So then you said one thing, and that is stuck with me. And then you said that, when we in Bhagavad Gita, I forgot which verse you mentioned, that in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that, or in this Tam Stitikshasva Bharata, actually it was about tolerating, right? Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. So the discussion moved on to tolerating, right? Tolerating so many things, and it's not easy. So what you mentioned is that the scriptures say that there are difficulties, and we see, yes, there are difficulties. So the scriptures also say there is unlimited happiness. So we have to have faith in unlimited happiness, something like that. So similarly, Prabhu, like right now, although we cannot understand everything, like why it is happening, or maybe we feel that it is forced. Like I said, I used to have the same question, that it seems like forced, right? But I have realized one thing till now, that we may not understand everything at this time. Some things we understand later. Like for example, this bhakti process is like authorized, and earlier I did not understand what does it mean by authorized. Like I used to always hear Srila Prabhupada saying authorized. I used to think, what does Srila Prabhupada mean by authorized? So then later I understood what authorized means is that um, like, in chemistry, we do experiments, right? So I never did that experiment, but there is this thing, the equation, authorized equation: 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen mixed, it gives water, right? So that is authorized. So but if I mix let's say, if I mix like I was giving this example yesterday, if I mix paratha with sabzi in the test tube, it will not give water, it will give yummy meat. But that is not authorized to create the water. The authorized means when we do it, it works, right? So this process of our bhakti, it works. And how do we know it works? We are all the examples of that. Like, it starts with Adav Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha, Ta Bhajan Kriya. So Adav Shraddha, it starts like, when we meet, like in my case, I met the devotees, right? I like the devotees. I was really attracted towards devotees when I was doing my master's, and I met the devotees. So I like the devotees. That is Adav Shraddha. That is what Srila Prabhupada mentioned in one of his lectures, that Adav Shraddha is like, when someone appreciates the devotees. Adav Shraddha, some faith we start with. Then what we do, we start bhajan kriya. Like I started chanting, which happened after some time, like 4 or 5 years after I met the devotees. But we start chanting, and then when we do bhajan, then sadhu sangha, I started chanting, and then I started hearing, associating with devotees. So we see that it is happening, Prabhu. Like when I got a little faith, Adav Shraddha, I started bhajan kriya. It happened. I went to next step. And then after next step happened. I started associating with devotees. Like in my childhood, I didn't know what is the meaning of associating with the devotees at all. So then I associating with devotees, hearing. Then what happened after associating with the devotees? My faith is strengthened, and then I understood that there is no happiness in this material world. But when I hear from devotees, then I see there is unlimited happiness in a spiritual world. So, like here, material world, life is tough, and then we die. And spiritual world, it is like nothing. The happiness is like unlimited ocean. It increases, 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 never decreases. So then I thought, okay, I want to make steps going towards that. And then I took shelter of my spiritual master. That is anartha nivritti. We take shelter, and then our difficult process starts. Anartha nivritti. So when we have come till this point, then slowly we will, we will realize, like as Sachinanand Swami Maharaj said, that when we advance, then we will realize that it is not forced, but it is basically telling us that this is the right thing. It's like a child who is taking drugs, right? So the parents, if they think that's okay, if the child is taking drug, let him take drugs, it's okay. But that is, if you look at it, it is very cruel of the parents if parents think like that. Because it's not right for the child. They have to send the child to the doctor's office. But what happens when the child goes to the doctor's office? Does it mean child is cured immediately? No, child goes through so much pain because the body reacts so badly. Body is used to of taking drugs, so there are so many bad symptoms. Sometimes people try to get out of it, they are able to, but sometimes people fall down again because it's difficult. It's a very difficult process. So, like Prahlad Maharaj says in one of his prayers, that to Lord Narasimhadev, that I'm not worried about myself because I'm always hearing and chanting your glories. I'm worried about these foolish fools and rascals. That's how Srila Prabhupada translates. I'm worried about these foolish fools and rascals who are trying to enjoy here, but they cannot be happy without Krishna. And the reason, Prabhu, we cannot be happy without Krishna, that is what the Maya is trying to make us understand. The reason we cannot be happy without Krishna is like if you put a glass of orange juice in front of me, right? And like I put my finger in it and I think, okay, I can drink it, but that way I cannot taste, right? I have to drink it. Finger cannot drink it. I have to drink it and put it in my stomach. So similarly, since we are parts and parcel of Krishna, we really cannot be happy until Krishna is satisfied. He is happy. But right now, we are trying to get the same happiness through our senses. But the point is that those senses are not ours. So how can we be happy? Like those senses are completely external. It does not belong to us. It's like we are like oil on top of water. So we cannot mix with material energy. So we cannot be happy until we um, again get back in connection with Krishna. But since we are so used to of it till now, because we are doing it, it becomes difficult for us to understand. Prabhu, I think I have confused you much more than
No,
earlier.
no, Mataji. No, I think I really want to thank you. I think there is something fundamental that you touched for me that really got me contemplating. You mentioned when when you try to understand the word meaning of the word authorize from Prabhupada, right? I think that struck me a little bit because I think the biggest confusion, and day by day I'm realizing how much little I know about myself also, right? Uh, I think the answer that I got from you is, first of all, I don't even know the definition of love. I don't know the definition of freedom. I perceive that as something, and probably I'm not even connecting to the real definition of love, the real meaning of freedom. And I'm just connecting what I feel or the feelings that I'm getting, like, like the mind feels, right? And I'm saying, okay, this is freedom, and this is what Krishna is not giving to me. But when you said understanding the true meaning of authorize, it connected to me that maybe I don't even know the true definition of freedom, true definition of love. And like you said, I think the point again really touched me is by doing it more and more and more, someday we will understand what it means, what that fundamental word means also. Thank you so much, Mata. I really want to appreciate you in sharing your own personal journey and your realization. I think it helped me connect those dots a bit for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So if no more comments, then we can end. It's yeah, it's 8:14 now. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Shall I end Mataji or?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Panchakalpatarubhya,